G'day viewers, we made it to the end of another week. It's time for Totally Fucked Up Friday. Look back on the week and just some of the fucked up things that happened. Only some, because the world's pretty fucking universally fucked at the moment. So I have a rather oversupply of topics I could talk about. I'll talk about a couple, but in the meantime, cheers, we made it to Friday. Looking around the world, it's fun. You can pick from a lot of really fucked political situations in particular. I've been talking earlier in the week about the Brexit situation with Boris Johnson in the UK. Boris Johnson conclusively answering the question, could anyone fuck up the Brexit process worse than Theresa May? Yes, Boris can. It's still a bit vague. It looks like they're going to pass a law that says there can't be a no-deal Brexit, and then there almost certainly will be a general election. And look, if you believe polls, the Tories seem to be the most likely ones to win that election. But if you look at the last few years in the world, polls mean nothing. I don't know. I think it's the safest assumption is that the Tories will win any general election that happens. But who knows? The Tories could lose a significant vote to the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage's party. Then again, maybe not. Labour might lose a significant chunk of their vote to the Lib Dems. Then again, maybe not. Maybe there'll be a coalition. Maybe the Tories will form a coalition with someone. Maybe Labour and the Lib Dems would form a coalition. Who knows? It is very confusing, and I'll tell you this for free. Anyone who thinks they can predict what will happen is talking shit. The world is so strange. Never believe anyone who thinks they have a conclusive idea of what's going to happen, because it's all very, very strange. I mean, Boris Johnson's own brother resigned because he thinks his brother's fucking things up so much. And the rest of his family are pretty much on public record as saying they think Boris is a fuck-up. My wordy, as we approach Christmas, it just seems like things are going to be a bit tense at the Johnson household if there's an extended family Christmas dinner. Little bit tense. Boris is like, pass the potatoes, and young Joe Johnson's like, get fucked! That's probably normal for his house. I just think that's probably normal for those kind of fucking inbred Tories. I don't know what's happening, but that's all very... Like, he's been swanning around a bit trying, I don't know, win over the hearts and minds of the people, and people have just been telling him, do your fucking job. I heard rumours he was going to go to Scotland to try and win the love of the people of Scotland. The people of Scotland who voted by a 2/3 majority to stay in the European Union, so they really don't like Boris Johnson and the pro-Brexit crowd. And look, there are lots of things about the Scottish people. There are lots of things you could say about the Scottish people. My own heritage is Scottish. But one thing nobody says about the Scottish people is they are shrinking violets. I honestly don't think Johnson would be stupid enough to go to Scotland. But he is very, very stupid. So it might happen, and that would be good for a laugh. Oh, and hey, speaking of very, very stupid, Donald Trump. See, I've ceased to criticise anything he does with policy, and particularly any of the nasty, vile, evil, cruel shit he does, because that's never going to sway any of his supporters, because they love it. The cruelty is the point with these people. Often these people go, oh, look what's happening at the border, that's terrible. Oh, look at these poor asylum seekers being tortured. Oh, no. His fucking supporters love that shit. You're not swaying anyone by saying, hey, Trump's an evil, bigoted, nasty, psychopathic, spiteful, cruel piece of shit. That's what his hardcore supporters actively want. Most of them think he doesn't go far enough. So you're not changing anyone's mind with that. What's always done in my head in is how the fuck do his supporters willfully blind themselves to how stupid and embarrassing Trump is? Like, oh my God, he does not have control of his faculties. And just one more example this week with the Hurricane Dorian and what it may or may not do to the US. And Trump just blooded because he just says shit that means nothing. And he just went like, oh, look, even Alabama's under threat. And it wasn't. No weather authority anywhere said Alabama was under threat. It was like Florida and the Carolinas, but not Alabama. And Trump, he cannot say, oh, I misspoke. That was a slip. He just has to assert, no, everyone else, those people telling the truth, are actually lying. Oh, the fake news. And he embarrassed himself by doing this thing, holding up a picture of the weather predictions for what states would be affected, which clearly did not include Alabama. And then he's drawn an extra little half circle taking in Alabama with a Sharpie. Like, it's so fucking embarrassing. How are people who support Trump not embarrassed to do it? It's just like, I know you don't care about the cruelty. I know you don't care about the racism. I know you don't care about what an absolute piece of shit he is, because you're all pieces of shit too. But how are you not embarrassed? He's not all there. He's not even 50% there. He's made of cringe. And that is the one thing that I cannot wrap my head around. I can understand stupid people. I can understand bigoted people. I can understand cruel people. But I cannot understand people who pretend the most weird, bizarre, embarrassing shit in history is not happening. But, that's the world we live in. Weird shit happens. And look, another quote-unquote world leader, he was up until recently, Robert Mugabe finally died. 95. How the fuck did he live so long? But he lived to 95. He got ousted from Zimbabwe a couple of years ago. And he's a very strange character, because he was a lead freedom fighter in freeing the black majority of Zimbabwe from the then white minority oppressive fucking state of Rhodesia, which was a sick, evil fucking setup. There is no doubt about it. He was a hero of the resistance. He liberated the majority of the country, and then he took all that goodwill and just turned into an absolute despot. I was reading up on his history, and it's absolutely bizarre how quickly he switched from the freedom fighter to the tyrannical despot. Within a couple of years of being voted into power, he didn't take power, he was voted in as, the first president of Zimbabwe, and then he just started persecuting, torturing, and murdering his opponents. He destroyed the economy, he destroyed the agriculture, and you get a lot of people who treat it like it's interesting, I was going to say a black and white issue. Obviously, there is the black and white issue, but it was the forced handover of the property of white farmers, which, considering these people were the profiteers of an evil, fucked up apartheid regime, they did deserve to lose at least some of their land. But a sensible person might have said, let's do something that's sustainable. And as we see from history, the Mugabe regime did not handle agriculture in a sustainable way. And Zimbabwe went from being one of the biggest food producers in southern Africa to being stricken by famine and fucking running down the toilet. And the whole time, Mugabe lived a lavish lifestyle while people were starving, while the country was fucking going down the toilet. Mugabe was living the high life, and he refused to give up power. And again, until a couple of years ago when his own party finally revolted against him, and there was a new leader put in place. And now he's died. So he's a complicated character, because the rest of the world only chose to only see, the last couple of decades of his regime. He's often painted as just a power-mad, tyrannical dictator. And that is what he turned into. But there was also the very important part of liberating the oppressed majority of Zimbabwe. Well, then Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. But I think he almost should be the textbook example of power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Because he went from freedom fighter who liberated the people to tyrannical despot in record time. But yeah, he's dead, and it's hard to miss him. Speaking of people who it would be hard to miss if they were dead, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. What a bag of shit, except he looks good because the Labor opposition is so fucking bad. Now, I'm never shy about my politics. I'm very, very clear about my biases. And I favour, in general, the Labor Party policies far above the LNP Conservative policies. But there's no arguing that the current incarnation of Labor in opposition under Anthony Albanese is even more fucked, pathetic and useless than Labor in opposition under Bill Shorten. Which, you know, hard to believe, but when someone is... Morrison is a fucking evangelical lunatic. His government is running the economy into the ground like our economy is about to crash fucking hard. You know, shops closing down, people are going to be losing their job, people are going to be on the streets, and yet somehow they're regarded as twice as popular as the opposition. That is how fucked the Labor opposition is. But maybe we'll see a turnaround because the LNP seems determined to really get into class warfare, and they are attacking the most vulnerable people. They're attacking people who are on unemployment, sickness benefits and pensions in a number of ways. They want to expand this thing called the cashless welfare card. It's rather than people getting their welfare payments paid into a bank account, there's this card that can only be used for certain things. And the big thing they trumpet is you can't spend it on booze or gambling because obviously that's all unemployed people do. And sure, there are definitely going to be people on benefits who have problems with abusing alcohol and gambling, but marginalising everyone on the benefits, humiliating people by saying, no, you actually don't get to deserve self-determination. The government, this is the party that says, we're about small government. The government's going to dictate what you can and can't do. And that shit gets darker when you realise the company behind this card, I think they're called Indu, they are effectively getting about $10,000 per recipient for this fucking card system. And the people with the cards only get like $14,000 per annum. So the government is close to doubling how much it costs to manage welfare payments, but that's being funneled off to a private company and making life that much worse for unemployed people and people on other benefits. It's just like, wow, if we looked into, does this company have ties to the Liberal Party? Are there donations? I mean, is this basically straight up corruption? I mean, I don't know. Evidence suggests, but who can tell? Maybe it's completely innocent, the ties between Indu and the Liberal Party. And this clearly fucking bad policy. Like, it's bad economic policy to say, oh, you know what? Welfare costs us this much. Well, why don't we just more or less double the cost of it just to fuck over and humiliate the people who are on welfare payments? And that money all funnels off to a private company where we can see links to the Liberal Party. That's legit, isn't it? That's not fucking evil incarnate. That's completely legitimate. I don't know what anyone could see as being wrong with that. And then also, they keep pushing this idea, well, we're going to drug test everyone who's on benefits, okay? Because we don't want them on drugs and benefits. And yeah, you can make all sorts of arguments about, yeah, maybe people shouldn't be on drugs. Maybe not. But here's the thing. It's like, oh, is this a good idea or a bad idea? And we actually have real-world examples that prove beyond any doubt this is a bad fucking idea. A few jurisdictions in the United States have done this. Going, well, we're going to drug test welfare recipients, and if they're on drugs, we're going to cut off their payment. And the cost of the drug testing regime was far in excess of anything that was quote-unquote saved by cutting people off benefits. It's just like you're fucking over the most marginalised, at-risk people in your society, and it does not make economic sense. It only makes sense if you self-identify as the party of cruelty, and it's fucking class warfare. Every time someone goes, you know what, those billionaires paying 0% tax, I kind of fucking think they should be paying more. They go, oh, it's class warfare. And the same people who say making multinational corporations pay some fair amount of tax, making billionaires pay some fair amount of tax, they call that class warfare. At the same time, they are going out of their way to fucking abuse and humiliate the most vulnerable people in society in a way that doesn't even make economic sense. It costs more than it might save by cutting off people's benefits. It's class warfare, it's cruel, it's evil, and it's the future these evil pieces of shit want. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure you subscribed so you don't miss my next video, because I do a lot of them. Jump in with a comment on this video, or let me know what you'd like me to do in another video, and hit me up on the various social media as well. Your support means a lot, so if you tell other people about the videos, that is one of the most positive things you can do to support me. Just share the video with your friends, put it on your social media, and tell them they should subscribe and join in. Or remember this easy song. Subscribe to AngryAussie and share this with your friends.